I gave him a lot of gifts over the years, so this is payback.
Aaron, not having DK, maybe how does it affect the offense?
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, we've had a lot of different guys with ailments over the season. We're on a lot of different personnel.
When a four-time NFL MVP decides to share his thoughts on a rookie quarterback, the entire football world stops to listen. Every scout takes notes. Every general manager reconsiders their draft board. Every fan debates what it all means. But what Aaron Rodgers just said about Shedeur Sanders, it didn't just turn heads. It sent shockwaves through every single NFL draft room in the country, and the fallout is far from over. This isn't just another pre-draft hot take from a talking head on television. This is Aaron Rodgers, a man who has seen it all, a quarterback who has dissected defenses at the highest level for 2 decades, a player who knows exactly what it takes to survive and thrive under center in the National Football League. So when he looked at Shedeur Sanders, the son of the legendary Dayan Coach Prime Sanders, and shared his unfiltered assessment, you better believe people listened.
But I think I had like a missed call from him, and then, or a text, something. I don't know. Then I just called my Uber, like 6:30, called him. I'm like, dang, bro.
The question now isn't whether Rodgers is right or wrong. The question is, how much will his words change the trajectory of one of the most polarizing quarterback prospects we've seen in years? Let's break this all the way down. Before we get to what Rodgers said, we need to understand who Shedeur Sanders really is. Because if you only know him as Dayan's son, you're missing a massive part of this story. Shedeur Sanders grew up in a household where excellence wasn't just encouraged, it was expected. His father, Dayan Sanders, is widely regarded as one of the greatest cornerbacks in NFL history, a 2-time Super Bowl champion, an 8-time Pro Bowler, a man whose nickname, Prime Time, became synonymous with showmanship, confidence, and an almost supernatural ability to rise to the occasion under pressure. But Dayan didn't just want his sons to watch greatness from the sidelines. He wanted them to build their own legacies. Shedeur chose football. And not just any position, he chose the most demanding, most scrutinized position in all of professional sports, quarterback. His journey began at Trinity Christian School in Texas, where he was already turning heads as a high school prospect. Rated as a 4-star recruit, Shedeur had options. Power 5 programs came calling. The bright lights of the SEC and Big Ten beckoned, but Shedeur made a choice that surprised many. He followed his father to Jackson State University, a historically black college in Mississippi. At the time, critics questioned the decision. Why would a top prospect choose an FCS program over the traditional powerhouses of college football? The answer was simple: loyalty, family, and a chance to build something special together. And build they did. At Jackson State, Shedeur didn't just play well, he dominated. In his freshman season, he threw for over 2,000 yards and led the Tigers to a conference championship. His accuracy, poise, and ability to read defenses drew comparisons to some of the smoothest quarterbacks in college football history. But Jackson State was never going to be the final chapter. When Dayan Sanders accepted the head coaching job at the University of Colorado, Shedeur followed. And that's when the national spotlight truly found him. Colorado hadn't been relevant in college football for years. Decades of mediocrity had turned the program into an afterthought, but Coach Prime promised a resurrection. And in his first season with Shedeur at the helm, the Buffaloes shocked the world. A 3-0 start, stunning upsets, a quarterback who looked ready for the next level. Shedeur's numbers told a compelling story. Completion percentages that rivaled the best in the country. Touchdowns that lit up the stat sheet. And most importantly, a composure under pressure that seemed almost unnatural for a player his age. But with the hype came the skepticism. Critics pointed to the level of competition. Could Shedeur replicate his success against NFL-caliber defenses? Was his production inflated by his father's system? And perhaps most controversially, was the media attention around Coach Prime distorting the evaluation of his son? These questions hung over Shedeur Sanders like a cloud as the NFL draft approached. Teams couldn't decide if he was a franchise-changing talent or an overhyped product of circumstance. And then Aaron Rodgers weighed in. Aaron Rodgers is not a man who speaks carelessly. Unlike many retired or active players who offer hot takes for clicks and engagement, Rodgers chooses his words with surgical precision. He's been burned by the media before. He's been misquoted. He's been taken out of context. So when he decides to publicly discuss a topic, especially one as sensitive as evaluating a draft prospect, you know he means every single word. The comments came during a recent media appearance where Rodgers was asked about the upcoming quarterback class. It's a common question for veteran QBs during draft season. Who do you like? Who has the it factor? Who reminds you of yourself? Rodgers, predictably, deflected most of the questions with diplomatic non-answers. He praised the depth of the class. He acknowledged that evaluating quarterbacks is more art than science. He reminded everyone that draft projections are often wrong. But then the conversation turned to Shedeur Sanders, and Rodgers' demeanor shifted. According to multiple reports, Rodgers spoke at length about what he saw when he watched Shedeur's tape. He highlighted the young quarterback's footwork, calling it elite level.
And I think we all like banding together and being one, you know, through any situation, through like things that we can't control. You know, we all agree with a lot of things and
Among the best he'd seen from a college prospect in recent years. He praised Shedeur's ability to process information quickly, noting that his eyes moved through progressions like a veteran rather than a rookie. But what caught everyone's attention was what Rodgers said next. He suggested that Shedeur Sanders possesses something that can't be taught, an intangible quality, a presence in the pocket that separates good quarterbacks from great ones. Rodgers reportedly compared Shedeur's poise to what he saw in himself during his early years in Green Bay, a calmness under fire that allows a quarterback to make the right decision even when chaos surrounds him. Coming from Aaron Rodgers, that comparison is seismic. This is a man who sat behind Brett Favre for 3 years, learning, waiting, and perfecting his craft before becoming one of the most efficient passers in NFL history. A player with a career passer rating that ranks among the highest of all time. A quarterback who has thrown for over 55,000 yards and 475 touchdowns across his career. When Aaron Rodgers says he sees something special in a young quarterback, general managers listen, scouts rewatch the tape, draft boards get adjusted, and that's exactly what's happening right now. The reaction inside NFL front offices has been nothing short of chaotic. Before Rodgers' comments, Shedeur Sanders was viewed as a polarizing prospect. Some teams had him firmly in the first-round conversation. Others questioned whether he belonged in the top 50 picks. The uncertainty stemmed not just from his on-field play, but from the circus-like atmosphere that surrounds Coach Prime and the Colorado program. But Rodgers' endorsement has shifted the calculus. According to league insiders, at least 3 teams have requested additional tape on Shedeur since Rodgers' comments went viral. The New York Giants, who hold a top pick and desperately need a franchise quarterback, are reportedly taking a harder look. The Las Vegas Raiders, a team Rodgers himself has been linked to in various trade rumors over the years, are said to be intrigued. Even the Cleveland Browns, a franchise that has struggled at the quarterback position for what feels like an eternity, have internally discussed whether Shedeur could be the answer to their prayers. But not everyone is convinced. Some scouts have pushed back on the Rodgers narrative. They argue that no single opinion, no matter how credentialed, should override months of careful evaluation. They point to the inherent bias that comes with comparing any young quarterback to a future Hall of Famer. And they caution that the hype machine around Shedeur Sanders was already in overdrive before Rodgers added fuel to the fire. One anonymous NFL personnel executive was quoted as saying, "We respect Aaron, we respect what he's accomplished, but we're not going to draft a quarterback based on what another quarterback thinks. We do our own work." That skepticism is fair. It's how good organizations operate, but it also highlights the tension at the heart of this story. On one side, you have the believers, those who watch Shedeur's tape and see a polished, pro-ready signal caller who happens to have learned the game from one of the greatest athletes in NFL history. On the other side, you have the doubters, those who see a prospect propped up by media attention, playing in a system designed to inflate his numbers. The truth, as always, probably lies somewhere in the middle. You cannot tell the story of Shedeur Sanders without discussing his father. It's impossible. And frankly, it would be incomplete to try. Deion Sanders is one of the most magnetic personalities in the history of American sports. He didn't just play the game, he performed it. Every interception was a celebration. Every touchdown was a statement. Every press conference was entertainment. When Deion transitioned from player to coach, many wondered if his showmanship would translate. Could a man known for his ego and bravado actually develop young players? Could he handle the grind of recruiting, game planning, and managing egos? At Jackson State, he answered those questions emphatically. He revitalized the program. He brought national attention to HBCU football. He proved that his charisma could be a recruiting superpower. At Colorado, the stakes were even higher. A Power 5 program, national television audiences, the full weight of college football's spotlight. And through it all, Shedeur has been right there beside him, son and father. Quarterback and coach, 2 legacies intertwined in a way that's both beautiful and complicated. The pressure on Shedeur is immense. Every throw he makes is analyzed not just for its technical merit, but for what it says about his father's coaching. Every win is credited to Coach Prime's system. Every loss raises questions about whether Shedeur can succeed without his dad calling the plays. It's an unfair burden, but it's the reality of being Shedeur Sanders. And yet, by all accounts, he handles it with remarkable grace. Teammates describe him as humble. Coaches praise his work ethic. Even opponents have spoken about his professionalism and competitive fire. The NFL will test that composure like nothing he's experienced before. The speed is faster. The hits are harder. The margin for error is razor thin. But if Aaron Rodgers is right, if Shedeur truly possesses that unteachable quality, then maybe, just maybe, the young man from the primetime bloodline is ready for the brightest stage of all. So what does this all mean for the 2025 NFL Draft? As of right now, Shedeur Sanders is projected to be a first-round pick by most major outlets. Some mock drafts have him going as high as the top 5. Others slot him in the teens. The variance reflects the uncertainty that still surrounds his evaluation, but Rodgers' comments have undeniably added momentum. Teams at the top of the draft are quarterback desperate. The Giants need a face of the franchise. The Raiders need stability. The Panthers need a long-term solution. The Browns need hope. Any one of those teams could look at Shedeur Sanders and see the answer to their problems. A young quarterback with elite tools, a legendary football pedigree, and the endorsement of one of the greatest to ever play the position. The counter-argument, of course, is that endorsements don't win football games. Arm strength does. Decision-making does. The ability to elevate the players around you does. Shedeur will need to prove he has all of those qualities at the NFL Combine, during pro days, and in private workouts with teams. He'll need to show that his success at Colorado wasn't a product of gimmicks or favorable matchups. He'll need to convince skeptics that the spotlight he's lived under his entire life has prepared him, not sheltered him, for the pressures of professional football. If he does that, the sky is the limit. If he doesn't, the questions will only get louder. We stand at a fascinating crossroads in this story. Aaron Rodgers has thrown his credibility behind a young quarterback who carries one of the most famous names in football history. NFL teams are scrambling to figure out what it all means. Fans are debating whether Shedeur is the real deal or the most overhyped prospect of the decade. And somewhere in the middle of it all, Shedeur Sanders is just trying to prove he belongs, not because of his father, not because of Aaron Rodgers, not because of the media circus that follows him everywhere, but because he's earned it. The 2025 NFL Draft is shaping up to be one of the most dramatic in recent memory, and Shedeur Sanders might be at the very center of the chaos. Whether you believe in him or doubt him, one thing is certain: you won't be able to look away. The kid with the famous last name is about to write his own chapter, and with Aaron Rodgers' words echoing through every draft room in the league, the pressure has never been higher. Can he handle it? We're about to find out. Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Do you agree with Aaron Rodgers? Is Shedeur Sanders ready for the NFL? Or is this all hype that's destined to collapse under the weight of expectations? Let us know. And make sure to subscribe, because when the draft goes down, you're going to want to be here for every twist, every trade, and every shocking selection. This story is far from over.